all the evidence points to James Doakes being the Bay Harbor butcher. We know that Dexter supposedly framed him. For years, fans of Dexter have accepted that he took the fall for Dexter Morgan's crimes. But what if we've been wrong all along, and Lundy and the FBI were right? Doakes fit the Bay Harbor butcher's profile too perfectly for it to be a coincidence. Let's talk about why James Doakes, given his history, might have been the more likely suspect. Sergeant James Doakes wasn't just any detective at Miami Metro. He came from a military background, a former U.S. Army Ranger with specialized training in covert missions and target elimination. That kind of background means he knew how to handle dangerous people without leaving a trace. For a detective, Doakes was a unit. He was that guy. His physical prowess was legendary. 5 foot 8 inches of solid muscle, honed by years of training. He'd overpower suspects in a heartbeat, sometimes relying on pure aggression. We get a taste of his power in Season 2, Episode 10, There's Something About Harry, when Doakes confronts Dexter, suspecting he's hiding something. The argument turns into a fight, and Doakes lands a powerful punch that sends Dexter flying, showcasing that he has the physical ability to overpower potential victims. Apart from his impressive physique, Doakes also possessed other skills that fit the Bay Harbor butcher's calling card. One of those skills was stealth. He could tail Dexter for weeks and pop up unannounced with a quick "Surprise, motherfucker," which became, as we all know, his signature and iconic catchphrase. He also had extensive training in firearms, close quarters combat, and infiltration skills that would be essential for the Bay Harbor butcher to take down dangerous targets. To dive even deeper into his history, we also know from the series that Doakes had a rough upbringing. When he was a child, his father would abuse him. But the man wasn't just a bad father to James. He also made a living being a butcher. This would mean that from a very young age, James was exposed to the grim reality of carving flesh, becoming numb to violence and death. This early exposure didn't just harden him, it may have planted the seeds of a dark obsession, mixing justice with cruelty. A dark obsession he brought into Miami Metro. After leaving the military, Doakes carried the same intense focus and discipline into his work. He became a respected detective at Miami Metro and was highly praised for his ability to catch criminals. But what never made sense was that no matter how much his colleagues applauded Doakes, he almost always wanted to work alone. We see many times throughout the show how he rarely trusted his fellow officers or asked for backup. He would also use a lot of force when handling suspects. Some might even say he was projecting his own dark impulses onto criminals.
Am I speaking clearly?
But beyond his skills and strength, Doakes had a moral compass that pointed in a very particular direction, one that might have led him down a dark path. Throughout the show, Doakes repeatedly demonstrated his strict moral code, believing that criminals who slipped through the system should be taken out for good. He showed no mercy to murderers, rapists, or drug lords, often ignoring protocol if it meant taking them down. In one notorious instance in Season 1, Episode 2, Crocodile, Doakes publicly confronted Carlos Guerrero, a powerful drug kingpin, accusing him of murdering an undercover cop. He didn't care that he might be stepping on official toes. He just wanted vengeance.
Whoa.
See, James Doakes lived by a black and white moral code. He openly believed that some people don't deserve to see tomorrow's sunrise. We see this in Season 2, Episode 3, when he states outright, some people deserve to die. This isn't just a throwaway comment. It reflects a philosophy that certain criminals shouldn't live to see another day, perfectly aligning with the butcher's twisted sense of justice. Doakes had the skills, he had the mindset, but what if his obsession with Dexter wasn't just about catching a killer, but about eliminating his competition? From day one, Doakes was suspicious of Dexter, calling him a creep and making it clear he sensed something off beneath his polite facade.
You give me a fucking creeps, you know that, Dexter?
Other officers didn't think much of it and shrugged off Dexter's quirky calmness around blood. But Doakes always knew something was off. There's no coincidence Doakes recognized Dexter for what he was. As the saying goes, it takes one to know one.
The only real question I have is why, in a building full of cops, all supposedly with a keen insight into the human soul, is Doakes the only one who gets the creeps from me?
As the show progressed, this suspicion escalated. He didn't just keep an eye on Dexter, he followed him after hours, lurked around the forensics lab, and even broke into Dexter's private spaces, looking for evidence. Initially, you might assume he was just a tough cop doing his job. But if you consider Doakes as a vigilante killer himself, it becomes a turf war. He might have been checking whether Dexter was also taking out criminals in his city. Further proof comes from the Dexter novels. While not part of the TV canon, they create an interesting parallel. For those who haven't read the novels, Doakes is explained to have his own dark passenger, and those who contain a dark passenger can sense each other. Doakes can't put his finger on what exactly Dexter is hiding, but because of his ability, he can sense that something is very wrong and that whatever Dexter's hiding is dark. This would explain his suspicion of Dexter throughout the series, and that there might be things happening off-screen that the viewer never gets to take part in. This brings us to our next concern, the frame job. We see how in Season 2, Episode 10, There's Something About Harry, Dexter plants the blood slides in Doakes' car, leading the FBI to label him the Bay Harbor Butcher. Many viewers consider this a frame job on an innocent man. But what if it wasn't a frame job at all? The FBI's immediate acceptance of Doakes as the butcher raises questions. I mean, think about it. How quickly the FBI accepted Doakes as their suspect. One look at his background, son of an abusive father, former Army Ranger with specialized training, and a detective notorious for bending rules, and they were immediately convinced they had found their killer. All of that made him the perfect suspect because the shoe already fit. But that's not all. Later in the same episode, we see that Doakes, after stalking Dexter and following him, found dismembered remains at a remote cabin, right where Dexter had been stashing bodies. The story goes that he was the brave detective who nearly caught the real killer. But Doakes' way of handling the situation seemed odd for a typical police investigation. He didn't call for backup, and his first instinct was to enter the cabin by himself. This went beyond a cop chasing the suspect. It almost seemed personal. Doakes might have wanted to take matters into his own hands because he saw Dexter as competition. It's never talked about in the series, but as mentioned earlier in the video, the novels display Doakes having his own dark passenger. While this may be a book canon, it does raise an interesting theory. Could the TV version of Doakes have possessed a similar darkness? The show never explicitly confirms this, but his behavior, particularly his ability to sense something off about Dexter when no one else could, suggests he might have had his own inner demons driving him. He might have believed there was one killer too many in Miami and that Dexter needed to disappear. But as we know, Dexter managed to overpower Doakes before he got the chance. He ends up in a cage, and Dexter plans to frame him. Had Lila West not intervened and triggered that explosive ending, Doakes might have pinned everything on Dexter, or Dexter might have pinned it all on Doakes. Either way, the cabin showdown showed how the two were locked in a battle of who could outsmart the other. In the end, Doakes is silenced forever by the cabin explosion, leaving only Dexter's version of the truth. The big question is, was James Doakes really the Bay Harbor Butcher? Given his background as a butcher's son, his military service, his tough childhood, and his rigid sense of justice, the answer could be yes. Maybe Dexter didn't frame an innocent man that day, but rather, to keep his secret safe, he steered the investigations onto Doakes, a fellow killer who he knew had his own dark passenger. We know that Dexter was a killer, but there might have been a second monster stalking Miami's underworld, a soldier turned vigilante who saw criminals and took justice into his own hands. So, next time you watch Dexter, ask yourself, what if the Bay Harbor Butcher wasn't just one man, but two? What if Miami's most famous serial killer wasn't working alone, but had a rival, hunting criminals in the shadows long before Dexter ever noticed? After all, as Doakes might say one last time, surprise motherfucker.